And I married someone that was, I always tell guys when they meet a woman.
Jay Leno has always been one of those people who seem larger than life. For decades, he made America laugh every night on The Tonight Show. His sharp jokes, iconic chin, and down-to-earth charm made him a household name. But now, at 75, Jay Leno is a man who reflects on the choices that shaped his fame, and the ones that cost him dearly. Behind the bright lights and applause was a man driven by fear, ambition, and love. Today, as he quietly cares for his wife, Mavis, who is battling dementia, Leno is showing a more human, tender side of himself than ever before. His story isn't just about comedy or cars, it's about endurance, loss, and redemption. For a man who once seemed unstoppable, the later chapters of his life have turned into a moving reminder that even the strongest personalities face moments of heartbreak and truth. The journey from a poor, dyslexic boy in Massachusetts to one of the richest comedians in the world is full of triumphs, setbacks, and lessons that reveal the real Jay Leno, far beyond the television screen. Jay Leno's childhood was anything but easy. Born in 1950 in New Rochelle, New York, he grew up in Andover, Massachusetts, where teachers constantly told him he wouldn't make it far. He struggled with dyslexia and often found it hard to read or write. But what he lacked in academics, he made up for in humor. He loved making people laugh, whether it was his classmates or his parents at the dinner table. His mother, Catherine, was a Scottish immigrant who worked hard and supported his dreams. His father, Angelo, was a hard-working insurance salesman who didn't always understand Jay's ambitions but respected his determination. As a boy, Jay would write jokes on scraps of paper and perform them for friends. His early life taught him resilience, the kind that would carry him through rejection after rejection later in his career. Jay also worked odd jobs as a teenager, from delivering newspapers to working at a pizza shop, saving every dollar to chase his dream. It was during those years that he learned the value of persistence. Even when people told him he wasn't funny enough or smart enough, Jay believed that if he just kept showing up, one day the world would listen. When Jay Leno moved to Boston to attend Emerson College, he didn't go there for fame, he went because he wanted to learn how to tell stories. At Emerson, he started performing stand-up comedy in small clubs, often for free. He didn't care about the money, he cared about getting better. He'd perform in front of small crowds that barely laughed, and instead of getting discouraged, he studied what worked and what didn't. After college, Leno packed up his car and drove across the country to Los Angeles, determined to make it big. He arrived with barely a few $100s and slept in his car for weeks, performing wherever he could. Clubs would often refuse to pay him, but Jay's goal wasn't immediate success, it was mastery. He was known for writing hundreds of jokes every week, editing and refining them like a craftsman. He performed at open mics, late-night bars, and comedy clubs until people started to notice his sharp timing and clean humor. Unlike many comedians who relied on shock value, Jay's jokes were relatable, clever, and family-friendly. This made him stand out. Slowly, word spread, and soon, Jay was getting calls from TV producers. His persistence was finally paying off, and his dream was turning into reality. Jay Leno's big break came when he became a guest host for The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. Carson was the king of late-night television, and filling his shoes was no small task. When Carson retired in 1992, NBC chose Jay Leno over David Letterman, sparking one of the most famous rivalries in television history. Many fans and insiders thought Letterman deserved the job, and Jay was suddenly caught in the middle of a public storm. But Leno didn't let the criticism slow him down. He poured everything into the show, making it funny, fresh, and relevant. He focused on jokes that connected with ordinary Americans. Under his leadership, The Tonight Show became the most watched late-night show in the country. However, the success didn't come without stress. Leno worked non-stop, often skipping vacations and sleep. He wrote his own jokes and spent hours rehearsing. He wanted perfection. Even after earning millions, he continued living modestly, saving every dollar from The Tonight Show and living only off his income from stand-up performances. That dedication and obsession made him rich and respected, but it also created a wall between his public success and personal happiness. Fame came at a heavy price. The world saw Jay Leno as a safe and friendly TV host, but behind the scenes, he was a man caught in a battle over power and legacy. In 2009, NBC announced that Conan O'Brien would take over The Tonight Show, and Leno would get his own primetime show. But when Conan's ratings dropped, NBC made a controversial decision. They took The Tonight Show back from Conan and gave it to Jay again. The public backlash was brutal. People called Leno selfish and greedy. Many fans accused him of betraying Conan, and his image took a hit. Jay later admitted that the whole situation was painful and misunderstood. He said he simply followed NBC's decisions, but the damage was done. For the first time in his life, Jay's reputation suffered. Yet, through it all, he kept his humor. He returned to The Tonight Show, regained ratings, and eventually retired on his own terms in 2014. Despite the controversies, his work ethic and resilience remained unmatched. He reminded everyone that success isn't about being perfect, it's about surviving the storms with your head held high. Outside of comedy, Jay Leno's biggest love has always been cars. His famous garage holds over 200 vehicles, from classic roadsters to futuristic prototypes. He's known for working on his own engines and even hosting Jay Leno's Garage, where he shares his passion with fans. But that passion almost cost him his life. In 2022, while fixing a vintage car, a fuel line burst and set his face and hands on fire. He suffered third-degree burns and spent weeks in the hospital. Miraculously, he survived and returned to the stage just 2 months later. Then, in early 2023, he broke several bones in a motorcycle crash. Each time, he laughed off his pain, saying, "It's better than being in the hospital with nothing to do." His humor was his shield. Yet behind the jokes, there was a man who couldn't slow down. He once said that work kept him from thinking too much about life's problems. That drive, bordering on obsession, was both his greatest strength and his biggest flaw. To the world, Jay seemed unbreakable, but inside, he was a man who found comfort only in motion. Jay Leno's love story with his wife, Mavis, has always been something special. They met in the 1970s at a comedy club, and she quickly became his anchor in a chaotic world. The couple married in 1980 and never had children by choice. Mavis once said she admired Jay because he was honest and hardworking, two things she valued deeply. For over 40 years, they shared a quiet, loyal bond, far from Hollywood drama. But in recent years, tragedy struck when Mavis was diagnosed with dementia. The woman who once supported Jay's every dream began to lose her memory, and Leno became her full-time caregiver. Friends say he rarely leaves her side and has adjusted his entire life to make her comfortable. He often jokes that he finally has more time for her now than ever before, but behind the smile, it's clear that caring for his wife has changed him. The once restless comedian now spends his days ensuring she's safe and loved. Their story is not just about fame or fortune, it's about devotion. For Jay, Mavis isn't just his wife, she's the reason he keeps going. Now, as Jay Leno turns 75, he's preparing for something few expected, a memoir. Insiders say this book will reveal the real Jay Leno, his regrets, fears, and the truth behind his fame. It's rumored that he plans to open up about the Conan O'Brien controversy, his struggles with guilt, and the pressure of living a double life, one public, one private. Jay has reportedly told close friends that he wants this book to be his final act, a way to leave nothing unsaid. For a man who's built his career on jokes, this confession will be a rare look at the human being behind the humor. He's also said that as he cares for his wife, he's learned more about patience, love, and forgiveness than fame ever taught him. This new chapter of Jay's life isn't about applause or ratings, it's about peace. His story is a reminder that success means little if you can't find happiness in your heart. The man who made millions laugh is now quietly searching for meaning, one day at a time. Jay Leno's life has always been defined by his tireless work ethic. He famously never spent $1 of his Tonight Show salary, living only off his stand-up income. That discipline made him a multimillionaire, but also someone who never truly stopped working. Even after retirement, he continued touring, fixing cars, and hosting shows. In his own words, "You retire when you die." That phrase sums up the kind of man Jay is: unstoppable, even in the face of pain. His legacy goes beyond comedy, it's about perseverance. From a struggling kid with dyslexia to one of the most successful entertainers in American history, Jay Leno proved that consistency beats talent when talent doesn't show up. Yet now, as age and life slow him down, his greatest achievement might not be his career, it's his loyalty, humility, and ability to laugh through the hardest moments. Fans continue to admire him not just for the jokes, but for the courage to keep smiling when life tests him. Jay Leno's story is proof that true success isn't found in fame or money, it's in how you treat the people you love and the way you face your final chapters with grace. As Jay Leno looks back on his life, he sees more than fame, he sees a journey of lessons learned. He once said, "If you're lucky, life gives you the same test over and over until you finally pass it." That's exactly what his story represents. He's faced rejection, betrayal, accidents, and loss, yet he keeps finding ways to move forward. Even in his 70s, he still performs stand-up shows, greeting fans with the same enthusiasm he had decades ago. The laughter that once built his empire now seems to be his way of healing. While his wife's condition has brought sadness, it has also revealed his deep sense of loyalty and compassion. Jay Leno's confession at 75 isn't one of regret, it's one of gratitude. He's thankful for the career, the fans, and the chance to care for the woman who stood by him through everything. His story reminds us that life isn't about being perfect, it's about staying true to yourself. And in that sense, Jay Leno has passed the ultimate test of life, to keep smiling, no matter what. When people think of Jay Leno, they often picture the man with the big chin, the sharp suits, and the fast-talking humor that could light up any room. But off-stage, Jay is much quieter than most realize. Those who've worked closely with him describe him as shy, thoughtful, and almost old-fashioned. He doesn't drink, smoke, or chase fame the way other celebrities do. Instead, he prefers spending time in his garage, fixing engines, or testing one of his beloved vintage cars. Friends say that Jay never changed much from the man he was before fame: simple, practical, and deeply focused on his craft. He's known for showing up early to every gig, even after becoming a millionaire, and for treating every person, from a network executive to a janitor, with the same respect. His life has always revolved around discipline and consistency. It's the same reason he still performs stand-up comedy today, even when he doesn't have to. Comedy, for Jay, isn't just a job, it's his way of staying grounded, of feeling alive. When he steps on stage and hears the audience laugh, it reminds him of the boy who once just wanted to prove he could make people smile. Throughout his long career, Jay Leno has learned lessons that only time and experience can teach. One of his most famous sayings is, "You can't be bitter and funny at the same time." That quote captures his entire philosophy about life and comedy. Jay believes that laughter should come from observation, not anger. While other comedians use their platforms for political or controversial humor, Jay always focused on jokes that anyone could enjoy. He built his success on being clean, relatable, and kind. But that doesn't mean he never faced criticism. In a world where controversy often sells, Jay's refusal to cross certain lines sometimes made people call him too safe or old-fashioned. Still, he never changed his style. He said once, "If you try to please everyone, you please no one. I just do what I think is funny." This belief helped him stay true to himself in an industry that constantly pushes people to reinvent or compromise. Now, looking back, Jay says that what truly matters isn't how many people laugh at your jokes, it's whether you can still laugh at yourself after the spotlight fades. That ability, he says, is what keeps you young, even when life gets hard. When Jay Leno first started performing in the 1970s, comedy was simple: a mic, a stage, and a punchline. Today, the world of humor is more complicated. Cancel culture, social media, and changing public opinions have transformed how comedians connect with audiences. Jay has often spoken about how difficult it can be for young comics to navigate that environment. He believes that while society should hold people accountable, there also has to be room for mistakes and growth. Comedy is about risk, he once said. If you take away the risk, you take away the fun. Despite being from a different generation, Jay respects modern comedians and often